So I'll start the presentation. So good morning, everybody. So my study is on the use of OCT angiography as a tool for visual prognostication in post-fever retinitis. So no conflicts of interest. So post-fever retinitis is an infectious entity caused due to various viral or bacterial agents. So earlier FFA has been used to study the vascular changes in fever retinitis. However, it has been a invasive and a dye-based procedure. So especially the occlusive components have been studied using FFA. So nowadays OCT angio is available, which is a dye-less, non-invasive and a repeatable tool to assess the foveal microvascular structure in post-fever retinitis. So the aim of our study was to assess the foveal microvascular changes in post-fever retinitis and to study its treatment response using OCTA, and also to correlate the microvascular changes with the visual acuity. So the methodology, it was a prospective observational study conducted in our Department of UVA and Retina with 14 eyes of 10 patients with post-fever retinitis. They underwent a comprehensive ocular exam and UVA workup followed by multimodal imaging. So the inclusion criteria was patients with post-fever retinitis, and the exclusion was a lack of consent, presence of vitreous haze, improper OCT acquisition, or if the patient got lost to follow-up during the course of treatment. So as I said before, an ocular examination, before that a Snellen BCVA, followed by ocular examination and multimodal imaging. So following a multimodal imaging and a UVA workup, patient was started on oral prednisolone, 1 milligram per kg body weight, with or without the PST. And he was followed up at 2, 4, 6, 10, and 14 weeks. And at each point of time, OCT and OCT angio was repeated. So coming to just the basic demographic features. So we had 14 eyes of 10 patients. 90% of the patients were male. 60% had bilateral involvement. 80% had the onset of retinitis 1 month post fever. And all of them, 100% had retinitis, multifocal retinitis with macular edema. The mean presenting BCVA was 20 by 390. And of the 14 eyes, 7 had involvement of the foveal avascular zone on OCT angiography. So this is the table showing of the 14 eyes, where you can see the ones marked in blue. The 7 eyes have starting poorer visual acuity as where the FAZ is involved, as compared to the eyes where the FAZ is not involved. So post-treatment, the mean BCVA, presenting BCVA, improved to 20 by 66, which was significant at 14 weeks. And coming to the eyes which had FAZ involvement. So as I mentioned, 7 out of 14, that is 50% eyes had FAZ involvement. And out of that, 3 eyes showed capillary remodeling post-treatment. That is, they had a regression in the CNP area involving the FAZ. And 4 eyes still had persistent involvement post-treatment. So this is a table comparing eyes with having FAZ involvement and with those with having no FAZ involvement. And we can see that the visual acuity is significantly different when it's 6 weeks and beyond. So at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks, there is a significant difference in the visual acuity between the eyes with FAZ involvement and the ones with no FAZ involvement. So the ones with FAZ involvement had relatively poor visual acuities, which was significant beyond 6 weeks. So we also did a sub-analysis of those 7 eyes with FAZ involvement. So we had 4 eyes with persistent FAZ and 3 eyes with capillary remodeling. So the eyes with persistent FAZ, their mean BCVA was 20 by 100 post-treatment BCVA, and the ones with capillary remodeling, the BCVA was 20 by 33, which was quite a significant difference between both of them. So this is an example of a patient with multifocal retinitis with enlarged CNP involving the FAZ. And we can see post-treatment, there is some amount of capillary remodeling. We can see it has been circled by this, which is yellow circles, and there's a decrease in the size of the FAZ. So another patient with an extensive involvement of the foveal avascular zone at presentation, and following post-treatment, we can see there is a minimal amount of capillary remodeling, but however, the FAZ size is still enlarged post-treatment, leading to a poorer visual acuity. So there has been some literature review previously, but all of them have been in the form of case reports describing the use of OCTA in rickettsial retinitis, in dengue and chikungunya. There is no study which has been conducted. So we found an association between the BCVA and CNP areas, which was significant at 6 weeks and beyond. So why it was significant 6 weeks and beyond was because in the initial stages, there is presence of macular edema, which could also result in reduction in visual acuity. And patients with persistent CNP areas had poorer visual outcomes when compared to patients with capillary remodeling. So the strengths of a study, this is the first study in literature utilizing OCTA for comparing the visual outcomes in with foveal avascular zone in post-fever retinitis. But however, the sample size is small and the effects of macular edema and photoreceptor layer changes in visual acuity was not studied. So to conclude, so OCTA is a potential useful tool to assess the visual prognosis in post-fever retinitis. Vascular remodeling is noted over a course of treatment in a portion of patients, and patients with persistent CNP have poorer visual outcomes when compared to patients with capillary remodeling. Thank you.
Very good, Shishir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Did you have any COVID patients in your subset?
No, sir. Actually, this study was conducted between 2019 June to 2020 June. So no COVID patients.
Shishir, what form of OCT do you have?
We have Cirrus and we also have TopCon DRI.
Okay. Do you think your values would be any different if you were to do it with a swept source OCT?
Yeah, I guess it'll be slightly more clearer and better with the swept source. Also, we can also get the deeper layers could be analyzed even better. We have not analyzed the deeper layers, the choroidal as well as the deep capillary plexus, which could be have done better with the swept source OCT.
And the follow-up is for just 1 year, or the follow-up is longer?
14 weeks, I think.
14 weeks, 14 weeks.
So, I mean, it's just a follow-up of the question what Dr. Karobi raised, actually, because many times we don't see the full improvement at 4 months. It takes 6 months to recover.
Yes.
So would you think that 4 months is relatively too short in terms of these cases? And have you looked at a comparison of your OCTA with the type of retinitis you have? Is it associated with exudation? The number of areas of retinitis which you are seeing. Is there any clinical correlation with your OCTA and that?
Actually, few of the patients we had done an FFA. So it was correlating in the initial stages, the CNP was correlating with the FFA findings, that is the ischemia involving the foveal avascular zone.
I just ask one question. Why you have given both posterior subtenon and oral prednisolone?
Yes, sir. So PST was given only in a select number of patients where the sugars were not uncontrolled or they had some other issue where we could not give oral steroids. So it was not given for all patients.
So it was not given both?
No. For all patients, both of them were not given. Only if in patients where there was a delay in starting the oral steroids, we gave a PST. And once they got a clearance from the physician for starting steroids, we started the oral steroids.
I have a question here. Have you used any anti-VEGF in these patients for macular edema?
No, ma'am. No anti-VEGF used.
Okay. And you found that there was one kind of, remodeling. Did you find in relation to your treatment and remodeling any correlation? Which of the patients on what treatment you found there is a remodeling better? Anything? Did you find any correlation between the treatment? Like you gave a PST and an oral steroid, did you find any difference?
No, ma'am, we haven't done that analysis. And not just that, few of them were rickettsial retinitis were also given antibiotics also like doxy. So, but we have not analyzed what treatment has caused the remodeling.
With your steroids, did you find any cases where the amount of fluid increased?
Over the course of treatment, none of the patients had an increase in subretinal fluid. All of them had a gradual decrease, actually.